secret kids with maids, and a famous musician's daughter who nobody knew about for 6 years. These celebrities shocked the world when they revealed their secret children. The history between British model Daisy Lowe and her father, Bush singer Gavin Rossdale, is a bit on the complicated side. Daisy was born in 1989, several years before Rossdale found fame to model Pearl Lowe. However, Daisy was told that a boyfriend of her mother's was her father, and Rossdale was actually named her godfather. In 2004, at the age of 14, Daisy demanded a DNA test after learning that neither her mother nor her supposed dad shared her rare blood type. As Pearl told Hello Magazine, Rossdale informed her that if she allowed the test to proceed, he would never speak to her again. Of course, the test did proceed, revealing Rossdale was the father. The singer did not acknowledge Daisy for nearly 6 years afterward, but he eventually warmed to having a relationship with her. These days, Daisy seeks out parenting advice from her rocker dad, whom she says was excited to welcome his grandchild. Speaking with The Standard, Daisy said, "He asked me how I am, and I said I am so lucky and I am so grateful, but it is so hard." As for Pearl, she told Hello Magazine that Rossdale's threat to cut her out over the paternity test was not empty. In the 2 decades since, he has not spoken to her. Pearl explained, "He's kept his word. I lost him as a friend, but Daisy has a relationship with him, which is great."
I give her all the support in the world.
Former child star Macaulay Culkin and his longtime fiancée, Brenda Song, might be an adorable couple, but they're also pretty private. Perhaps this is because, in 2018, Culkin publicly shot off to podcaster Joe Rogan about his desire for children.
I'm gonna make some babies, all that kind of stuff.
Sure enough, their son Dakota was born in 2021. However, for the second time around, the couple chose to have a touch more discretion. In March 2023, the couple announced to Us Weekly that baby number 2 had arrived shortly before Christmas the previous year. While they still had zilch in the way of additional details to add, their friends shared that Culkin and Song had simply been laser-focused on parenting. Considering they have a toddler and a newborn, that's pretty understandable. Guitar god Eric Clapton suffered an unthinkable tragedy in 1991 when his 4-year-old son Connor fell out of the window of a high-rise to his death. Clapton's love for the little boy was immortalized in what is now perhaps his signature tune, Tears in Heaven. At Connor's funeral, the press in attendance were mystified by the presence of a small girl who took Clapton's hand. It turned out to be 6-year-old Ruth Clapton, a daughter whom the public had been completely unaware of up to that point. In a 2007 conversation with the Daily Mail, the then 22-year-old Ruth revealed that she had been, quote, hiding in plain sight. Clapton had never denied paternity or even really attempted to keep her hidden. He simply didn't announce her birth to the world. The reason for this may have been because she was the result of a fling between the guitarist and the manager of producer George Martin's legendary Air Studios, Yvonne Kelly. Kelly, who was also married at the time, had co-parented Ruth with Clapton from the beginning, with an apparently superhuman level of understanding and cooperation from their respective spouses. As Ruth told the Mail, "Everyone was incredibly grown up about the situation. I always knew Eric was my dad. Everyone made the best of it because they didn't want it to be awkward for me." Eddie Murphy's life and career have been rife with ups and downs. He was the hottest comedic performer of the 80s, he had a top 10 pop hit, and he notched an Oscar nomination for his dramatic role in 2006's Dreamgirls. He's also snubbed the Academy after being picked to host the Oscars, been forced to publicly address his tendency to be less than discriminating with his projects, and given us his legendarily awful labor of love, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. In 2007, he was still riding high off that Oscar nod when his personal life took a huge hit in the form of a paternity suit, one which came at a particularly awkward time. Murphy was engaged to his girlfriend, Tracy Edmonds, when the suit was brought by Melanie Brown, better known as Mel B or Scary Spice of the Spice Girls. Murphy publicly admitted to being the father of a 3-month-old girl, Angel Iris Murphy Brown, in a statement issued by his publicist. It read in part, "Mr. Murphy views this as a private matter, and as such will not be making any further comments about it."
You still love him?
Yeah, I always will.
Are you still in love with him?
No, he has a lady.
The following year, Edmonds and Murphy got hitched, a marriage which for some reason lasted all of 14 days. Actress Liv Tyler is famously the daughter of Aerosmith lead singer Steven Tyler. Surprisingly, Liv herself did not know this for sure until she was 11 years old. In fact, her mother, former Playboy playmate Bebe Buell, told the little girl that Tyler's fellow rocker Todd Rundgren, with whom she was in a relationship, was actually her dad. Even so, Liv suspected the truth before then. In a 1997 conversation with Interview magazine, Liv disclosed that when she met her father, she, quote, fell in love with him and even put up his posters on her wall. Buell Grohl had kept the truth from her daughter due to Tyler's wild and hedonistic lifestyle in the 70s and early 80s. However, in a conversation with The Guardian in 2017, Liv explained that she's grateful for the relationship they've nurtured and that she has nothing but love for both of the men who helped raise her. She said, "Both my fathers are unconventional. They are like unicorns or wizards. They are musicians through and through. The way they think is just different. Their eccentricities have made me more practical and more normal in a way." Former Nirvana drummer and current Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl has long enjoyed a reputation as one of the nicest guys in rock. It should be pointed out, though, that he himself has never claimed to be a saint. Instead, his uplifting music combined with his friendship with Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain may have bolstered his reputation in pop culture disproportionately. As it turns out, Grohl is just as prone to irresponsible behavior as the next rock star, and proved it by fathering a child with someone other than his wife of 2+ decades, Jordan Bloom. Grohl made the shocking announcement on Instagram in September 2024, writing in part, "I've recently become the father of a new baby daughter, born outside my marriage. I plan to be a loving and supportive parent to her. I love my wife and children, and I am doing everything I can to regain their trust and earn their forgiveness." The identity of the baby's mother has not been disclosed as of September 2024, and thus far, Bloom has not commented publicly on the situation. However, Grohl's elder daughters, 18-year-old Violet and 15-year-old Harper, commented in perhaps the most pointed way that the teenage offspring of a celebrity can. They deleted their social media accounts. Not many political careers have ascended so quickly and plummeted so hard as that of John Edwards, a Democratic senator from North Carolina who was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1998 and mounted a presidential campaign against incumbent George W. Bush in 2004. While the campaign was not successful, he was picked to be the running mate of eventual Democratic nominee John Kerry. The campaign experience should have served him well when he made a bid for the 2008 nomination, but apparently he learned the wrong lessons. During election season, Edwards partook in an affair with campaign worker Rielle Hunter, ultimately fathering a child with her whom he did not acknowledge as his until 2010. This sordid circumstance alone likely would have been enough to put a giant damper on Edwards' future political aspirations. However, the sliminess was severely compounded by the fact that Edwards carried on his extramarital activities during his wife Elizabeth's very public treatment for breast cancer. Shortly after the couple separated in the wake of Edwards' admission of paternity, Elizabeth died from the disease. Edwards was indicted by a grand jury in 2011 over allegations that he had accepted illegal campaign contributions, a case which actually went to trial but resulted in a mistrial. In 2016, Hunter told ABC News that Edwards was still a friend and co-parent to their daughter, Quinn.
We're very, very good friends and great co-parents.
In his memoir, Total Recall, My Unbelievably True Life Story, Arnold Schwarzenegger recalled one of the most consequential couples therapy sessions of his life, which he attended with his then-wife Maria Shriver. It was the day after he had left office as governor of California, and he was under the impression that the session was to discuss their transition back to private life. He was wrong. He wrote, "The minute we sat down, the therapist turned to me and said, 'Maria wanted to come here today and to ask about a child, whether you fathered a child with your housekeeper Mildred Baina.'" In fact, in 1997, he'd done just that, so Schwarzenegger immediately came clean. He had kept the secret for some time, and while he tried to tell himself that the boy, named Joseph, wasn't his, their physical resemblance became impossible to ignore. In a piece for Men's Health, Joseph Baina shared that he had been told of his parentage when he was a teenager, and that he and his dad had bonded in the intervening years over a mutual love of weightlifting, among other things. Baina is also an aspiring actor, with several film and TV credits to his name, and says that he's not worried about trying to escape his father's hulking shadow. He explained, "A lot of guys struggle with trying to make their dad proud or trying to get out of their dad's shadow. Of course, maybe those guys don't have such nice dads."
Just really happy with and honored to be a part of this family.
Shad Moss, better known as Bow Wow, burst onto the rap scene in 2000 at the age of 13 under the name Lil Bow Wow, a protege of producer Jermaine Dupri, who had shepherded similarly underage act Chris Cross into the mainstream. Moss had chart success throughout the aughts as a youngster. However, as soon as he graduated to adulthood, he found himself with a child of his own. In July 2011, the then 24-year-old rapper revealed that several months prior, TV personality Joy Chavis had given birth to his child, a daughter named Shy.
You my daughter's mom. That's never a rebound.
Moss made the announcement on his own website, writing, "I waited so long to tell y'all the truth because I was nervous on how y'all would look at me." He also shared that at the time, Shai was living with her mother, a 5-hour plane ride away. However, in recent years, the father and daughter appear to have gotten much closer. In 2024, Moss took to Instagram to share a picture of himself with then 13-year-old Shai, and it was not lost on him that she was the same age that he was when he made his first foray into the music industry. He captioned the photo, "Started as a teen, now I have one." It's always a bummer when your musical aspirations don't work out, but in the case of Charlie Heaton, his dashed dreams turned out to have a pretty killer silver lining. This is because he managed to parlay a few minor acting gigs into a main role in the sci-fi horror series Stranger Things. Heaton has been dating his on-screen love interest, Natalia Dyer, since 2016, but before his days of Netflix fame, he was a young rocker in a band called Komenechi. While playing in the group, he had a fling with his bandmate, Akiku Matsura, and the two had a child. Ironically, their son Archie might have ended up being the impetus for Heaton's eventual fame. As music wasn't paying the bills, Heaton had turned to acting in minor roles to bring in extra cash, a move which soon landed him in a brighter spotlight than he may have bargained for. By the time he was cast in Stranger Things, Heaton and Matsura had broken up, and it wasn't until well into the series run that the existence of Archie, by that time a toddler, was exposed to the world by those helpful denizens of social media. Leighton Meester is best known for the drama series Gossip Girl, and she was able to live out her Hollywood dreams despite having the definition of a rough start to life. She was actually born in jail, as her mother was in the middle of a 16-month sentence for drug smuggling. This may have something to do with her reticence to make her own family life public. She and her husband, Adam Brody, were married in secret in 2014, and in September 2015, it was reported that the couple had welcomed a baby girl named Arlo 7 weeks prior. The tot might have remained a secret for even longer had TMZ not dug up and reported on her birth certificate. The pair have since had another child, and when they sat down with Interview magazine in 2023, Meester shared feelings that are familiar to a lot of moms. She said, "I wouldn't change anything, and I'm proud of the mom I am, but I also feel like I'm open to a lot of self-doubt and worry, and to more extreme hypervigilance and neurosis, so all I can do is take it a day at a time."